Kevin Viner is one of the top mentalists in the world, with millions of online views and television appearances spanning the past decade. He has entertained globally for A-list celebrities and top executives, and for the first time is bringing the experience directly into your home.
That is amazing.
Kevin's show, Virtually Impossible, is a brand new immersive experience that makes you and your guests the stars.
I didn't know why, but I knew that Suki will think of somebody named Jim.
Oh my God. Holy.
I committed 2 cards before the show.
Jesus.
Oh my.
You didn't start with the ring finger in your mind, did you?
Whether you are entertaining colleagues, business partners, or friends near and far, Kevin never fails to amaze as he reads your thoughts through the screen. If you need engagement, laughter, and an incredible experience that will be remembered for years to come, look no further. Your guests will thank you.
Kevin, that was great, man. Listen, I please come back again because that was amazing.
So happy to welcome Kevin Viner. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Great. I'm great. Thanks for having me here.
You're very welcome. So let me just walk through because, why don't you tell me a little bit about your business? Because you're an entrepreneur. You're one of the hardest working guys I know in the entertainment industry. And just walk through, how you got started, what you do, and because you've got some amazing stories.
Yeah, so I build myself as a mentalist, and you can think of a mentalist, it's kind of like a magician, but whereas a magician plays with your perceptions visually, right? They make things appear and disappear. A mentalist, my job is more to create this illusion that I'm getting inside people's heads. So basically reading their minds. It's kind of like, I'm not a psychic, but I play one on TV type thing. So that's really what my job is. And there are elements of psychology, and so it's kind of a combination of psychology, social cues, reading people, and then also trickery, obviously, right? That's where kind of the magic side of it comes in.
Yeah. Now,
So,
now you started off obviously in the early 2000s as a little kid. You started off in magic.
Yeah, so let's see. I would have been a teenager in 2000. I was born in 86. I got my first magic kit when I was 5. So this has been my only job I've ever had. I mean, I was, when I was 11, 12 years old, I used to go to the street fairs and go perform close-up magic with a table and get tips from people. And my first corporate event, I live in San Diego. That's where I grew up. And we have Qualcomm down here. And so Qualcomm saw me, one of the reps, there at Qualcomm saw me at one of these street fairs and brought me in. I think I charged like $100. Which, when I was 15, I was great. I was stoked to go get $100 to go do a show for anybody.
So was that the first kit when you're 5 with the little plastic wand and the plastic hat, and you got to learn how to turn the
I
cube
graduated past that. I graduated past that pretty quickly. I mean, I don't think that. And look, I know you've had amazing musicians on this podcast before. With people who really excel in the arts, I don't think that obsessed is even enough of a statement. I mean, you really have to devote your life to that art to be able to make it profitable, and then to the business side of it too. So I'd get home from school, I learned to do my homework really quickly because I wanted to keep my grades up, otherwise my dad wasn't too happy. Right. And so I'd get my schoolwork done as fast as I could. And then it was like, go lock myself in the bedroom with a deck of cards and practice and practice and practice.
Wow. So, 15 years old, you're doing gigs for Qualcomm. You're starting to thinking about doing a career. Now, where does it go from there? So you graduate from, high school. I know you've been on Penn and Teller. You've been on some PBS documentaries. I know that the Sandra Pichai from Google has called your show the freakiest thing he's ever seen. I think that's his quote. How did you get to that point? And that's just some amazing stories. I know you've performed for some amazing people.
Well, they say, when they talk about, success a lot, what's that quote? They talk about, luck basically being when opportunity meets preparedness, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's so much truth to that. There's a book by Daniel Kahneman, and it's called Thinking Fast and Slow. And it's all in these cognitive biases and ways that we interact in like a business sense, and how our brain affects our decisions. And one of the things he talks about, and he actually talks about Google back when it was started by Larry Page and whoever
Mhm.
the other guy was that was there from the beginning. But they talk about the role of luck in all of those things, and how later we retroactively look at companies' success a lot of times and connect all these dots. But the truth is that if those dots hadn't connected in that way, they might have connected in some totally different way. So for
Yeah.
me, I'm always really careful to not attribute, you know, yes, I worked really, really hard, but all of these different things that came around, I mean, they were really just being in the right place at the right time. And after high school, I went to college up in Orange County, California. So I went to
Yeah.
UC Irvine, got a degree in mathematics. And when I was there, I just happened to be in Newport. I mean, I was in this very affluent area here in San Diego. We have La Jolla, we have Rancho Santa Fe. We have some of the wealthiest zip codes, in the United States. So I lived in a demographic area where I was able to find clients that were having parties and willing to pay money to bring me in to do events. So I mean, that was one side of it. The other side of it was I just worked as much as I could. So I mean, even in college, there were a couple restaurants on the waterfront there in Newport Beach, and I'd go and perform table to table. And I remember having these dialogues with other friends who were doing the same kind of a thing, and they were going, "Man, you've got to be paid by the restaurant because otherwise the restaurant doesn't value what you're doing." And I always thought that that was a little myopic because
Yeah.
I didn't want to be held in. Once a person pays you, you owe them something. And so
Right.
I'd go work these restaurants for free, but I'd find the most high end places that I could go because I'd get really good tips from people in there. But more importantly, I'd find the clientele. And then if somebody wanted to book me and it's Friday and they go, "Hey, we have a private party the next night," I would just tell the owner, I'd go, "Hey, I'm not going to be in tomorrow." And they didn't owe me
Right.
anything, so they didn't care. So I thought taking more of a long view approach to what I was doing, even from when I was young, made a little more sense than trying to, kind of get rich quick, so to speak, right? And that led to me just meeting more and more people. Every show that I did, every event that I did led to more gigs, and kind of my thought process on it. Most magicians, most mentalists, you ask them what they're doing and why they do it. They go, "Well, my job is to fool people." And I learned really early on that's the vehicle, right, through which we
Yeah.
work, but really our job is to change the emotion and the feel of an event. And so if you go in there with that as the intent, and you go in there with the intent to really elevate the event, then you're more than just an entertainer. You're kind of this ambassador of goodwill for the entire program. And once those dots connected for me, business really just started taking off. And one person told somebody else, who told somebody else, and that's what's brought me to where I am now.
Wow. I mean, that's so interesting. Now, obviously, in the entertainment world right now, well, in the world in general, but in particular, I would think in the entertainment world, you guys are facing some pretty serious challenges across the board. So, usually at this point, I would ask, what are the biggest challenges that you face in your business? But in the COVID area, what are your biggest challenges that you face, and how do you? I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't do big stadium gigs like you used to. You can't do parties like you used to. How are you? How are you making this all work? Because I know you've been successful, and you, like all successful entrepreneurs, you find a solution to the problem, and that's what I always like about this group that I surround myself with is, we're the kind of people that, what's option A, what's option B, what's option C? Okay, give me option D. We'll figure this out.
Well, look, I mean, you're in the finance world, you're in the business world, you understand. I mean, there's people are so risk averse, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that companies don't change what they're doing. Oftentimes, when something's working, they're thinking, "Well, why do I want to switch it up and try something new? Because that could damage
Well,
us
yeah,
instead of helping us." And
yeah,
that's really where the entertainment industry was. I mean, I was out doing live gigs, I was out performing. I never thought to myself, like, none of this was here. This is all a set that I built. I took some paneling and put up on my wall and put lighting in there. And I didn't know how to use, great camera equipment. I didn't know how to, use these. I mean, if you could see what's down here out of view, I've got all these different switchers and, mouse pads to do things. I knew how to do none of that. So March, April rolls around and I start getting cancellation after cancellation. And I called a couple of my friends and I said, look, this isn't going away. We're not going to be working until at least fall of 2021. And back in March, my friends told me I was crazy. They go, nah, this will be a couple months. And I just thought through the cycle of how companies, because all of my business now, it's corporate events. So it's these big meetings. And we talked, a couple minutes ago about how I said corporate America, especially, very risk averse, right?
Yeah.
And so they're not going to be planning events when they might have to be canceled. Summertime is always a pretty dead season anyway. So I just thought through, if they're talking about winter, possibly as a vaccine being developed, we're not going to be looking at people going back to normal travel potentially until summer of next year. So business doesn't come back till fall. So, I mean, I didn't work for about 2 or 3 months. And I just worked on putting together this new show. So it's a brand new experience I've created, and I'm charging about 50% of what I was for my live events. But what's nice about it, I don't have to leave home. I was on a plane. I mean, last year, I was on a plane every single week, sometimes multiple times a week, with the exception of like over Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And now I get to be home with my wife. Like today, after we get off this call, I have 2 back-to-back shows. And one of the companies is an East Coast group, and then I have a West Coast group afterward. I'm able to do shows for European audiences in the morning, and that's what's nice about it. So I'll show you something real quick. I'll do something kind of fast for you.
Yeah,
because I've learned, as a mentalist, my job is really to influence people's thoughts. And when I'm there in person, there's different ways that I can make that happen. But virtually, I have to, I can't study your body language as well. I'm looking at a camera, and if I'm looking, here at you on the screen, I'm not making eye contact with the audience. So there's this trade-off. So I'm going to try instead to put a thought into your mind right now. I want you to imagine you walk into a cigar shop and you go to buy a cigar for a friend. Okay, you're purchasing some cigar for a friend. I'm going to write down how much this cigar costs. This is just my guess. Imagine this. You reach into your wallet, you pull out all of the money that is in your wallet, okay? Just in your mind. Give me a dollar amount. How much money was in your wallet to the dollar?
$180.
Oh, okay. So that'd be like a very expensive cigar.
Oh, no, sorry. I misunderstood. I thought you said how much money is in my wallet.
That's okay. That's okay. Look, I wrote down.
I'm not spending on a cigar.
I said that the cigar cost $182, right? I said it was going to be $182. Now, here's the thing. If you went to buy a cigar that was $182, but you only had $180 in your wallet, A, that'd be an incredibly expensive cigar, but B, they wouldn't let you buy it, right? They'd say you were $2 short. And they call that close, but no cigar. So I wrote this down. I put something in here because I knew we'd be on this call today. And so I said, Greg will be short $2.
That is awesome. That is
Isn't that
awesome.
crazy?
That is fantastic. And to this day, I have no idea how you do it, and I love you for it. Kevin and I met probably about 5 years ago at an event that he did. I was blown away by it. I was so impressed. I had him come up to Vancouver where we live, and he did a show. And I still have some people think that he had plants in the audience, that he was so good. His show is just incredible. It's unforgettable. And it's stuff like that, because I'll tell you, this is recorded, so you might think that I knew what was going on beforehand. Nada. This is spontaneous. So thank you, Kevin, once again. And by the way, nice set that you've got there.
Thank you. So yeah, I've built this, and it's been. I mean, look, innovation happens through iterative processes, right? And this started downstairs. I mean, we have a nice house. It's not huge. It's a just 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. And my wife is a musician. So one of the bedrooms is already a recording studio. I had my office, and we're looking, where do we build now a new set? And so it moved from downstairs to the bedroom. I have still a green screen because I do some things for clients where I'll customize it and put their logos up. And I finally settled on this as a permanent solution. So I'm really happy with it.
No, I like the lights a lot. I threw up banners when this whole thing started, and they're actually covering up electric guitars that are on the wall. So
Great.
and my desk here is actually a piano. So
I love it. I
So-
love it. It's
but-
well, look, you make do with what you have, right? And everyone starts somewhere. So I mean, my first virtual show that I did was not great. But then I just started, like, I got all my friends and family. I said, hey, spread the word. And I did like 20 free events where I was just, bringing people on. Let's test different things. And I'd watch every show and take notes on what worked, what didn't. How can I evolve this? What's the feedback from people? And I just plowed through it and finally created something I'm really happy with. And it's nice because live, there's nothing that's going to ever substitute for a live performance. But on video, there's certain things that I can do, like being able to do, overhead shots and stuff like this, that I couldn't do that as easily in my live shows. It was all about people watching me on stage. So in a way, I'm able to do some more intimate things for people through this medium than I even was, on stage in like an arena performing.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to Kevin's site in the comment section down there. Great show that Kevin does. Why don't we step back? One thing, talking about 20 years ago, what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself? Not only would you follow it, but what kind of things have you taken away? Because I mean, you've faced adversity, you've overcome things in a fantastic way. Your approach has always been, just take any work that's given and build up all that goodwill and just really do solid work are the things that I'm hearing from you, which is, and not be afraid to innovate. And I mean, I think, as I said, in this situation here that we're all in, you definitely see the people who've innovated, and because, life goes on and whatever the world is, we have to figure a way to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, that's a big question because over a lifetime of doing entertainment, you learn so much. I think probably the biggest takeaway that I would have would be to always keep yourself open to what the next opportunity is, right? Because so often we think that the way things are now, 5 years from now, it's going to be like this, but more of it. And I found in my experience, that's never the way that it goes. There's always, some big life event, something that happens, whether it's a huge pandemic like this, or, I remember when I booked my first 5-figure event, and that was like earth shattering for me.
Yeah.
It was just, I never, even contemplated that. And all of those things, they're things that I thought about, but they weren't really on the horizon for me. And so I think having this, not being like nihilistic really, but having the sense that, you really don't know what's around the corner. So know what your core value systems are, know what's important to you. I've loved the time that I've been able to spend with my wife being here at home. And it's also made me realize, the importance of not letting life run away from you. Right. And I think a lot of us do that in the entertainment industry. We build so much about that thrill of being on stage, but all of us are going to reach a point where we're not as relevant anymore. And where there's somebody new who's going to be the big, entertainer when I'm in my 80s. And being able to have a core kind of personal life established that you can retire to comfortably, I think is really important. So I think those would be the two, distilling all that, rambling down, the two pieces of advice I'd give myself would be, one, to be open to new opportunities, and two, at the same time, to really value and cherish the things that you have at, at any given moment.
That's great advice, and I think that that should be well taken. Now, hey, just that now that you mentioned your wife too, we've got to give a shout out that you and your wife, since you spend time at home now, Sunday you guys do a live stream. With a very exciting
so
artist.
every Sunday we're doing a music live stream.
Yeah.
Not from this set. We've got another set downstairs. that's been a lot of fun. She'll be recording some music this Sunday, so it'll be the first Sunday we've skipped since April, but we'll be back the Sunday after, which I'm not sure the date, but we'll figure that out. So yeah, I mean,
Always,
if anybody
always
here
worth
wants
checking
to
it out.
yeah, if anybody wants to check out her music, she's Jessie Lark. So you can look up Jessie Lark like a songbird. Find her on YouTube, all the socials. And then I have kind of a little plug over Halloween. I have a series of a couple shows I'm doing virtually. So I know that with COVID, trick or treating is kind of a weird thing, and
Yeah.
most people aren't really doing it right now. And so I'll show you. I've got this little banner. So I'm doing this show called Haunted Thoughts, and it's going to be a family-friendly show. I'm doing it over Zoom. I know that you'll link to the page there as well, Greg. But that's going to be a really fun show. So the Friday show sold out, but Saturday I have two shows, 4 p.m., 7 p.m. Pacific time, and so 7 and 10 Eastern. And they're going to be really fun. So you can grab tickets for that on the website if anyone's interested in checking it out.
That's fantastic, and it just shows another way just of adapting and innovating to just a very strange world that we're into today. So we're going to have to wrap it up in a little bit. Is there anything else you want to share with us before you need to run away?
Yeah, let's try something else. Let's do something else for you here. So these are they're called ESP symbols, and Dr. Joseph Rhine, like way back in the 1800s, he used to, before we knew that people don't have real psychic powers, right? He used to test people for like their intuitive abilities, and he'd use symbols like this because they're all pretty different. So, Greg, the way that our memories work, we typically remember positions of about 7 objects at once, and that's why like phone numbers here in America are 7 digits, right? Minus the area code. So these are 5 symbols. If I asked you to memorize the order of those, you could do it pretty quickly. If I asked you to tell me what symbols these were, you could do that really easily because you've got these mental placeholders, right? For where they all go. But if I start mixing these things up, even not, very quickly, if I just give them a mix, at this point you start to forget exactly which one goes where. Right?
Right.
So, like, you're not sure right now which one's which. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Where would you guess, if you just used your own intuition, where would you guess that this one went?
I'm going to go with the star.
You're going to go with the star. So, what Dr. Rhine would argue is that if people got more than 20% correct on a regular basis, right, that maybe they had. We'll see how you do.
I'd put it under the square.
You put under the square. Okay, let's go to the square. Top, middle, or bottom? Call one out for me.
Bottom.
Bottom. Where's it go?
I'm going to go with the squiggles, the waves.
Going to go with the squiggles, okay, with the little waves there. This one right here in my left hand, where would you like that to go?
The cross.
The cross. Now look, people see this and they think to themselves, maybe I influenced them, so I want to give you one chance here at the end. Do you want me to switch this one, Greg, with any of the others?
No, I'm good with the circle.
You're good with the circle. Well, that's a good thing because that is actually the circle. So now that would be 20%, right? Which means that if you got 40% of them right, we might start to think that you were a psychic. But if you got all of them correct, I think Greg's actually going to be doing my show for me on Halloween. So if y'all tune in, you're going to see the newest psychic performing.
Well, thank you, Dr. Binkman.
Yeah, right?
That was awesome.
Thank you so much for having me on this today, Greg. It's always just great seeing you too. I mean, we go back, I'm trying to think when that first event was that like 6 years ago or 7 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was.
So.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, Kevin does a fantastic show. If you get an opportunity to see him or book him, I don't make plugs easily here, but Kevin's definitely worth it. And, just from a business point of view, learning how he's taken something that is, I would argue is an unusual business and made it super successful and been able to adapt and overcome some amazing obstacles and turn it into like just a fantastic lifestyle. And I just love to see it. And I love to see successful people. Thank you very much, Kevin Viner.